Hi, good evening. If everybody could grab a seat and turn all your cell phones off or at least on silent, please. I'd like to hereby call the regular Board of Education meeting for River Trails School District this November 15th, 2022 to order at 7:06 p.m. We've got some fantastic students from Indian Grove. I'd like you to come up and help me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Are you ready? All right. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, guys. Mrs. Johnson, could you please take roll?
Camardo. Fiorito.
Here.
Friedland.
Here.
Grimpy.
Here.
Johnson, I'm here. Pfisterer.
Here.
And Ronstadt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. First up is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented. Does any board member wish to discuss or pull an agenda item at this time? Hearing none, I hereby entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented in its entirety.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Friedland, second by Fiorito. Mrs. Johnson, could you take roll?
Sure. Camardo.
Yes.
Pfisterer.
Yes.
Ronstadt.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Grimpy.
Yes.
I vote yes. And Friedland.
Yes.
Pass.
Okay. Next up is the board communications. This is an open agenda for board member communications. I'm going to start off with this weekend is our III conference. Just a reminder to board members to be prepared to discuss your experience at our next meeting. Patty has left packets with information for your hotel, the conference and hospitality events in your green bag. And the next is district recognition. First up is the River Trails Middle School cross country team. Who is speaking on their behalf? Just come on up to the podium, please.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. We are so excited to honor our 2022-2023, really 2022 cross-country team who went to state this year. Coach Cooperman, I think you can maybe give us some of the stats from our awesomeness.
I have basketball in the mind a little, so I'll try to regather my thoughts. But hi, yeah, I'm Mr. Cooperman. I'm with Coach Lasowski and Coach Casella. Coach Zavilla couldn't be here today. We had a great cross-country season. Both boys and girls took second place in conference at the regional or sectional meet, rather. Girls took third place, and boys took, Colin's telling me, first, Declan's telling me second, I believe Declan. So we took second place, which was great. Out of 15 teams and a lot of competition in the area, it's really great. Honestly, if you're in the top half of that, nonetheless, top three is the top three teams make state. Then at the state meet, which takes place by ISU in Normal, Illinois, the girls took 12th place as a team, 10th? 7th. A lot of numbers. And then the boys took 10th. They're both out of 27 teams in the state for our class, which is fantastic across the board, to say the least. So we had a lot of great performances across the board. We wanted to recognize all 20 of our state runners for the boys and the girls. This is actually the second year in a row that both the boys and girls teams advanced to the state meet, and we don't remember that happening ever before that. So there's been years we literally just have one kid make state, sometimes just two, sometimes nobody. The fact that both teams made it these last 2 years is an amazing accomplishment that they're maybe not even aware of how impressive it truly is. So we just want to give our kudos to those 20 runners and congratulate them in front of everybody. So great job. Do we have to go through their names? All right, so they're all here. I think we're going to try to go through all their names, and then they'll come up and...
Want to read?
Sure.
They can come up, get a certificate, and then line up in front.
Great.
And shake Mr. Grimpy's hand.
If I say your name wrong, sorry.
You can swap out with.
I could try. Where's, oh, Matthew Benedict? It's an easy one. Okay. Colin Brady. Declan Brady.
There you go. Yep. There, you can hand it off to him.
Oh, perfect. Stefan Donisa. Colin Fahey. Everett Georgikakis.
Yeah, that was good.
I practice on this one. Oh, sorry. Caitlin Getz. Johan Gonzalez. Gabriel Gronsky.
Here, okay.
Faith Lee. Amelia Mikowski. James made me mad I said her name wrong. Martina Mikowski. Mateo Valera Morales. Emily Perry. Jordan Patterson. Brielle Peralt. Megan Phillip. Francesca Sebion. Philip Semionoko. And Gianna Walters.
They're all here.
All here. That was impressive. Thank you. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah, nice job. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Oh, this is great. Thank you for letting us do this.
Thank you for being here, and parents, thank you so much for bringing them all. The whole squad is here, so we're super excited.
Okay, and next up is the Indian Grove Service Club's recognition. Mr. Timmons, you are up.
All right, thank you. You guys want to come up? All right. Thank you very much for inviting us tonight to show off some of the opportunities that IG students have to give back and to serve others. Oops, let me get the slides going. All right, so a little bit of background. Each of our district schools follow these 3 life rules: be respectful, be responsible, and be ready to learn. I know they're up in the other room, but I don't see them up in this room. These provide clarity and expectations, or in the expectations for all students, And you see them come up a lot during the school year. We spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year explicitly teaching what it looks like and sounds like to follow these expectations in all of the different settings around the school. And we revisit and reteach them frequently throughout the year, both as a preventative measure and reflectively with students. You can hear them mentioned every day at the end of our daily announcements by either myself or Mrs. Krusel, and you can check that out on the IG YouTube channel if you'd like. A big part of being responsible is taking care of yourself, taking care of your environment, and whenever possible, taking care of others around you. It is our pleasure this evening to share some student and staff voices about the truly awesome things that they do to showcase the responsibility that they feel for our building and the people inside and out. The 5th grade Grover Community Service Club, or GCSG, is sponsored by Mrs. Creaser and Mrs. Russo and has been around for a very long time, which you'll hear about more later. The 4th grade Beautification Club, sponsored by Mrs. Havel, Mrs. Klawans, and Ms. Robinson, is new this year and is a successful example of how the updated extra duty proposal process made it easier for staff to turn an idea that they had into a new club quickly after the school year to get students involved in things in the school. We will start with Mrs. Havel and Mrs. Klawans to talk a little bit about the Beautification Club.
Microphone and clicker. Okay. We're so excited for our new club this year called the Beautification Club. And this came out of having the desire to start something to help beautify our space and have our students take responsibility in helping us in that process. So our club is new and it just started. Here's a little bit about our club. In short, it helps the students build respect for our school, as well as build respect. Respect helps build a healthy learning environment. Mrs. Havel?
Yes, and along with building respect and responsibility, our students are very prideful in their work, and they're very excited to share everything with our Indian Grove community, which overall improves the well-being of our students and our school.
So we started out the club by beautifying the inside of the club, and come spring, we're going to move to the outside of the building as well and help with around the school grounds. Today, I'm going to have our girls here talk in a minute, but today, Mr. Timmons was rolling out some extra carpet mats for around the school, and right away, we had 3 different groups working in the school, and right away, how can we help? What can we do to help around the school? So that was great. So we're going to start with Reagan.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. There you go.
All right. Hello, I'm Reagan Soroka. I signed up for this club because I love making crafts and making things. I also tend to enjoy seeing my friends. Plus, I just love helping out in general. All right, the school board. I meant staff board.
There you go.
All right, so this staff board is basically it's the staff of IG, Indian Grove. And we just stick it on like some leaves, and it kind of supported the idea of fall. But I just recently took it down to make it's snowing books.
We just flipped it over today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cute, like books, like recommendations, and some snowflakes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I lower it down?
Yeah, of course. There you go.
Hi, I'm Juliana Starelli. Here is why I signed up for the Beautification Club. Because I love coloring, decorating, and helping people. Here is what I like best, working as a team with my friends and everybody that is in the Beautification Club.
And there's the new board that they flipped from our fall board today. And this is all student-led, all their ideas, all their creation. So it was a group of students' idea to put up the staff for fall, and then today that same board got changed to It's Snowing Books with all the recommendations.
Hi, I'm Presley Grimpy. I signed up for this club because I love to decorate and make the school beautiful. What I love best is I get to share my ideas with everybody. Okay, this is the sprinkle of kindness board, and the sprinkles are supposed to represent kindness. And then the donuts we just made on our own just to make it look more like sprinkles, and donuts have sprinkles on them.
Perfect. Caught everyone's attention.
It did.
My name is Erin. I signed up for this club because I wanted to help my school. My favorite thing is seeing what we do around the school. So this is the Veterans Day board that we made, and we put it up for Veterans Day because we had school on Veterans Day. Once we walked by it, we were kind of just supporting all the people up there, and we asked everybody in each grade if they do have a family member in there, they can send it to Miss Kawanza's room and put it up.
And that was the students' idea, and the students sent templates to all, to Mrs. Havel and I and Miss Robinson on what information they wanted to be included. So the little template that each family was emailed home with the letter was all the students' idea to send in a picture of their friend or relative that was a veteran. So these are two of the boards in our main hallway as well.
And then on Veterans Day, I noticed most classrooms stopped to admire all of our veterans that day.
So that's our new club, and we're super excited for this year and all the wonderful things we're going to do to keep beautifying our school. Thanks, girls. Great job.
So Beautification Club is 4th grade, and it's almost like a primer for the GCSG. So I will bring up Mrs. Creaser and Mrs. Russo now to introduce that.
Hi, I'm Annette Russo, and I'm one of the facilitators, sponsors of GCSG.
I'm Sheila Creaser. I'm the librarian and the other sponsor.
You know, GCSG, this is our second year being sponsors of it. It is definitely a club that is run by the kids. We are more the facilitators to help it run. You will see, they create everything when they talk. They even do the PowerPoint. They even do any newsletters sent home to parents. They write it up. We obviously check it. And any type of thing we're raising money for, they decide on what the craft is going to be. We also, you will see, donate to outside of Indian Grove in the Mount Prospect community. And they decide, they vote on it, right? Things like
Yes.
that.
So our students are showing responsibility through dedicating their time outside of school to help others in their community. So are you guys ready?
You guys ready?
Come on up.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Mihao, and the Grover Community Service Group is like a service group for 5th graders run by Miss Russo and Miss Creaser. For me, personally, what I like about GCSG is that we make like we get to do fun crafts, and like we sell them at school, and then we donate them to I forgot the word, celiac disease? No, it's like the word that, I know, but it's like,
Charity.
Charity, yes. We donate to different charities, and that's what I personally love about it.
Hi, I'm Demi. We are a community service group dedicated to helping others in our school, our community, and around the world. I joined GCSG because I enjoy helping our community and love to help people in need. GCSG gives me the opportunity to do both. I love spending time with my friends and making crafts, which we use to raise funds for different organizations and causes. Overall, GCSG is a great way to stay connected with our community and teaches us how important it is to help others. Thank you. Hi, my name's Olivia. The name GCSG is new, but there has been a Grover Community Service Group at Indian Grove for over 30 years. I joined GCSG because I wanted to help my community and help people in my community and different organizations around my community. Also, I wanted to do different crafts and sell them. Also, I love hanging off my library teacher and spending time with my friends.
Hi, my name is Robbie, and what we do in JCSG is we raise money by making crafts and selling them at school. We use the money to donate to organizations that are important to us. What I like about GCSG is that I get to better my community by putting all this money to people who are in need. I think this is a great organization run by great teachers who want to improve their community.
Last year, the GCSG donated over $600 to Ronald McDonald House. This year, we are raising money to help people with celiac disease. We also collect essential products for the Mount Prospect Food Pantry. We collect items like toothpaste and toilet paper. Also, we are collecting right now, so you can donate if you want to. Some things I like about GCSG are I love how we get to make crafts and donate the money we earn by selling the crafts. Also, Miss Russo is my second grade teacher, and now that I'm in fifth grade, I don't get to see her often. So because I am in GCSG, I get to see her more often because, as you know, she runs it along with Mrs. Creaser. Another thing is that we are donating to the Celiac Disease Foundation, and some of the money is going to go to cancer studies. The reason I like GCSG, I like it, part of the reason why I like GCSG is because I have celiac, and I'm really happy that we are donating to the Celiac Disease Foundation. All in all, I think GCSG is really fun.
And I'd like to acknowledge our friends. We have 40 fifth graders who joined this year, which is really impressive. And I have some friends who came who knew they weren't talking, and they're showing our arts and crafts we made. Hold them up, guys. We're really proud of them. And like Mrs. Russo said, it is really run by the fifth graders, and they decided who to donate to and decided how to make those. So we're really proud of them. Thank you.
Any questions for our students or sponsors?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that it's not easy to get up and talk in front of people. I know I got to do it once a month, so I'm well aware. But you guys all did a great job, and you're doing wonderful things for Indian Grove, so thank you to each one of you.
I was just going to ask if you have a sample, if you wouldn't mind bringing one up here or kind of walking it by and showing us some of the things that you guys have made. Thanks. Are these for sale? Or are these your keepers? Okay, everything's for sale, right?
Any questions? Awesome job. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute recess and help yourselves to some refreshments over on the table, and we'd like to talk with everybody. So we'll take a 10-minute break.
Foundation for service to the public and education community. So this year, for tonight, we have the School Board Leader Recognition Award to Mr. Frank Fiorito for the 2022 Distinguished Board Member. Well, come on up. Sorry, we can. Okay. And next, we have, so today, actually it's today, marks School Board Members Day. And so today we recognize our District 26 school board members for many outstanding qualities, but dedicated leadership, commitment to our community, and for their contribution as really public officials, volunteer public officials for the River Trail School District. We appreciate your time and the thoughtfulness that you put into every decision to make our school district better every day. So thank you. I'm going to call you up for your certificate. Yep, you're gonna have to get up, and we'll make you line up and we can get a picture together. So first is Donna Johnson. You're not gonna like this. Next, we have William Grimpy, Bill Grimpy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Probably. Becky Pfister, our newest board member. Thank you. Frank Fiorito. I feel like I'm doing my 8th grade graduation handshake. Janine Friedlands. I know, isn't it? Luis Camardo. Thank you. Yes. And finally, Robert Ronstadt. Thank you. All right, should we get a group shot? Oh, yes. Hold up your certificate. I think you're gonna have to use the whole length of the. Scooch, scooch. There you go. Oh, stop it. Thank you. Yeah, it's official.
Okay, that brings us up to RTEA comments. Ms. Kwans, you have the floor.
Got it. Okay, congratulations on your awards. And I just wanted to say it's a pleasure and honor to be here representing the RTEA tonight. I'd like to take a moment to thank everybody for all you do and your hard work and dedication to our students in our district. We truly appreciate all of your hours of volunteering and helping to make River Trail School District a very special place. So thank you from the RTEA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is visitors' comments. At this time, I'd like to recognize any members of the audience to approach the board with their comments or questions by completing a visitor's comment card. Please do note that the board and administration typically do not respond, and if you are wishing for a response, please provide your name and number or email for a member of the Board of Education or administration to get back to you. There is a second opportunity for visitors' comments later on in the meeting. Speakers are encouraged to limit their time for others to participate, a 5-minute time limit per speaker with a 20-minute minimum length on one topic and overall 30-minute minimum for visitors' comments. After that time, the board can move all further comments to the second session or continue comments and establish an ending time.
Hi, my name is Mary Pat Donahue. I'm here as a visitor. I'm not a school parent anymore. I'm also here with Mary Beth Stillmaker and Sargon Mirza. We're here because we have concerns about what we believe will be a safety hazard for your kids due to a rezoning of the old Comcast lot at 350 North Wolf Road. As you may know, the Comcast lot is midway between your River Trails Middle School here and St. Emily's School on Central. The Comcast lot is on this side of Wolf Road. It's south of your school. It's south of Northwest Church of God. It's a little bit east of Parkview Montessori School, which is in the business center. It's across from the Korean church. It's across from the entrance of Longford Glen, where a lot of your school kids come from, and it runs right along the back of houses that are on Loudon Avenue, near Loudon and Wolf Road. The Comcast lot, over the summer, the Village of Mount Prospect voted for it to be rezoned into a 100,000 square foot industrial warehouse. It is rezoned to have parking spots for 96 cars. It's going to have 12 parking spots 19 spots for trucks and trailers to park. It's going to have 12 exterior doors for trucks and the possibility of 9 more being built. The developer over the summer didn't indicate if it's going to be operating 24/7, but presumably during the day. The developer couldn't say what kind of businesses will be in there, although it'll be 1 to 3. And it did kind of indicate maybe businesses that use gravel or marble or stones, although they really couldn't say who will be in there. And in that Comcast lot, there'll be 1 lane entrance and exit for trucks to travel over and a different lane for the cars to come in and out of. And this is over the pedestrian sidewalk there. This is not at like a crosswalk or a stoplight. This is going to be the pedestrian sidewalk that the kids in this area, let's face it, they walk, the cross-country runners run, they bike ride, they skateboard. So this is going to be built. This is a major thing with trucks going into our area, which our community, Longford Glen, believes is not safe for our kids. And I can speak from personal experience about what can happen because 7 years ago, my daughter, who was a high school senior and was a varsity runner, was practicing her running on Wolf Road, and she had just jogged along the Comcast lot, and she was in the crosswalk of Wolf and Loudon when she got hit by a car. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen again, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen by a truck. But when I heard that this is coming into our area, I thought I have to stand up and say something. It's that kind of a business is not consistent with this area. We have families here, and we have hard-working families to come here. They have to work very hard to live here, right? And they want a safe place for their kids, and they deserve a safe place. And I think because we are so far from the center of Des Plaines and the center of Mount Prospect, nobody knows that we're here. I don't think people are aware of how many kids we have here. And, the business park has a stoplight there where, the kids will know not to go if it's not green. There's not going to be a stoplight at the Comcast redevelopment. We contacted the city of Des Plaines and we said, can you put one up there? And they said no, because it's too close to the other one. And also at that spot, there's a bus stop, a Pace bus stop, where our Maine West High School students wait to take the bus to the high school. So this kind of development is not consistent with a residential community like ours. So on behalf of Mary Beth and Sargon and the Longford Glen Homeowners Association, we're asking for your help, and we're asking for the help from the families, because I really think that the developer and the village of Mount Prospect, they have to hear from the families. You know, they have to know that there are kids here and they, you know, their safety is at risk from something like that. And I can say it because it happened to me. So however you can help us or give us guidance, and if people can write the village and try and help us stop it. We had Jonathan Carroll helping us. We had 200 petitions trying to stop it. We haven't been able to do so at this time, but maybe with your help, we'll finally get successful, and we'll do it for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Business Services. Dr. Schuster, that is you.
Okay. At the last board meeting, we talked about the Indian Grove breakfast program. It has always had very limited participation. It's been about 10 to 15 breakfasts daily. This year, there were only 9 in total in the month of September. Our lunch supervisor there is retiring, so we are proposing that we change the breakfast to not serve a regular breakfast at Indian Grove. If there is somebody that needs it, we could provide a bag breakfast. We are looking at Kid Squad coming back, and they would be able to pre-order some breakfasts that would be sent over there, but there wouldn't be a regular breakfast service. So the food supervisor could work for 10:30 to 2 and 11 to 2:30 on Thursdays, decreasing the hours by almost half and saving some money. There was a question about, would this stay this way? Well, we thought we could do a survey every spring to see if there was any additional interest, and at that point, every spring make a decision if we wanted to bring it back for the next year. So the recommendation is that we do not do a regular breakfast at Indian Grove.
And just remind me, is this, so the nurses?
The nurses would have some extra food if kids were really hungry. For the family that's been taking breakfast, we could make sure that they get something. And we talked to Kid Squad about they could pre-order breakfast, have their families pre-order breakfast, and they could hand them out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to know, kids are not real forthcoming to tell you they're hungry or they need something. So how would we ease that so that if a child was hungry, they don't have to out themselves in a classroom and say, I'm hungry, can I go? Would you make a daily announcement on the intercom? How would that?
I think the social workers there are pretty aware, and
Okay.
I think the teachers too,
Okay.
and the teacher assistants. So I think they can kind of recognize if
They would know who to- okay,
to
got
really
it.
talk to rather than
Got it, okay.
making a school-wide announcement.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So there'll be communication at home to Indian Grove parents that breakfast will no longer be served?
Yes.
Okay.
As of it'll be the beginning of January.
Okay. How would a student, I guess it's the same, how would a student know if they want breakfast that day to go to the nurse's office?
I think we'll put together some kind of a communication that would let them know that.
But the kids in Kids Squad will be ordering breakfast, the same breakfast that they would get at Euclid or River Middle
It'll be a
School?
bag breakfast that we can send over.
Okay. I have reservations just about,
I do want to back up Lyndall on, like, for food insecurity, typically you know who those families are, and the social workers are already working pretty tight for connections within the community. So I have reservations about it too, Because obviously we don't want anyone to have the issue of being hungry in the morning or at any point. And we try to, do the best that we can. But I do want to say that, like, typically there's like a continuum of care with the social workers where they know about food insecurity in certain families and try to do their best to communicate resources.
I just wonder if we're doing a separate bag lunch for Kids Squad anyway, if there's a way that parents could order the bag lunch too.
We talked about doing something like that too, so we'll look into that.
Okay, so as somebody who has worked at Prairie Trails during the lunch hour almost every day this year, I can honestly tell all of you that it is impossible to make a child eat, okay? And as difficult as it might seem, or as, kids are hungry, but you just can't make them eat. And we have parents that are upset at Prairie Trails that their kids aren't eating their lunches, but all of us that are there in the lunchroom, we do our best to encourage kids to eat, but we can't feed them. So I'm not really sure why this has become such a big issue when there's so small number of kids that are actually using the program right now. Linda presented it at the last meeting. The numbers are just, am I right or am I right?
There were 9 breakfasts in total served in September.
From a financial perspective, I think it's a good move on our part to move on and just communicate the best we can. But once again, whether it's lunch or breakfast, we cannot make a child eat. It's impossible. If there's a solution, somebody give it to me so that way tomorrow when I go, I can get the 17 kids who don't eat anything off their hot lunch table, just throw it in the garbage, and I'll fix it.
I agree, it's impossible to make kids eat, but I think there's a difference between the food being there and not being there. So that's my only.
Okay, let's get a motion in a second to eliminate the Indian Grove breakfast program for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year starting in January of 23.
Motion.
Moved by Ronstadt, second by Grimpy.
Thank you. Fiorito?
Yes.
Ronstadt?
Yes.
Friedland?
Yes.
Pfisterer?
Yes.
Johnson votes yes. Camardo?
Yes.
And Grimpy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up is the committee reports. The first thing on the list is the IASB delegate, Mr. Ronstadt. You're our representative. It's your turn to review the 2022 resolutions.
Okay. Well, nothing too controversial here. Let me get down to them. I didn't know I was going to be reading them all.
You don't have to read them. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I don't know where you
well,
want
the way
to
that
take
we
them
the
one
way
by
that we
one.
vote is: do we agree or do we disagree with the IASB recommendation?
Okay, on each one.
On each one.
Okay.
So we don't have to review each one unless somebody wants to discuss it.
Okay, so I'll go through I'll give the topic for each one, and then I'll just kind of give a verbal vote to whether we agree.
Well, just remind everybody what the IASB's recommendation is. Do they recommend in favor of it, or do they not?
Okay, so financing public education, local level. Basically they are looking to, or recommending to adopt this. What this does is it basically allows school districts to retain a larger fund balance or without fear of a lawsuit. And I think there's a law, so they're basically asking them to direct the legislator to consider changing those rules. They recommended to adopt it. I didn't see any issue with it as well. I mean, if a school wants to save up some money to do a capital project or whatever, it's local control of their business.
Does anybody disagree?
I agree. Actually, I think it came up recently where we were talking about the school improvements. Louis asked, can't we just save for a while? And Linda was like, no, there's a law that we have to spend a certain amount of fund balances because they're tax dollars. They have to be put back into the So there are times when it would be nice to save.
Okay. The next one was financing public education alternative fueled school bus funding. So this one, a district, Naperville 203, was asking that the IASB be directed to basically lobby both the state and federal governments to provide funding for school districts transitioning to zero-emission busing, which sounds great, but the committee is recommending not to adopt it, in part because of just some of the broad terminology, but also there wasn't necessarily a way to pay for it, or there was a question of diversion of new funds. I kind of read that as they could lobby for new funding and things like that, but it's relatively. It was written rather vaguely, so they're recommending to not adopt it. I personally agree with that recommendation as well. I could go the other way, just because obviously the green energy is an important thing, but I think to me it's more about just the writing of it here than anything else.
Yeah, I opposed. I didn't like I didn't really like the verbiage of it, but I won't lose sleep over it.
Anybody else?
No, even as a lover of EVs, it's just a little bit too ambiguous. And honestly, with a lot of the programming and funding and grants that are coming at the federal level, it might be a little bit redundant at the state level until we get a couple other things that are COVID related under control. So.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Third one was basically a request to modify the existing rule for firearm dealer locations to move from 500 to 1,500 feet away from an educational facility or daycare facility. I get it, but I mean, every community lays out differently. There's schools in small towns, there's all kinds of stuff. I think 500 feet is appropriate in my opinion, and there's other ways to to me, this is just chipping away at a bigger problem and not really addressing the whole issue. So their recommendation was also to not adopt. I personally agree with that as well.
Anybody else?
Okay. The next one was capital grant funding for school buildings. So this was really just changing some language in here to just be more specific about a particular issue. So this is an existing resolution or directive, and they were just adding some clarification around where or for what purposes they should be going after those. So adding language in there to address classroom space issues and repair and maintenance needs of aging facilities. It seemed rather just a tweaking of an existing directive, and they recommended to proceed, and I personally agree with that as well.
Anybody disagree?
It's just, is it fundamentally different, or is it just verbiage?
It really is just verbiage. I mean, you can read through it in full here, but.
So I did, I guess I didn't understand if what they were adding is just clarification words, or if they were actually drastically changing what it was.
Yeah,
Do you mind if I have one?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my understanding, as I was reading it, I think it's just clarifying where that funding can go and how it's going to be utilized and how it's going to be dispersed.
Okay.
So it's not typically changing the nature of what the resolution, or well, what the legislation was to begin with. It's just it's changing to be more precise in how things are distributed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
I'm going.
Nope. Keep going.
Okay, the next one, school safety fund, also changing some language here, specifically to direct both state and federal. So previously this had just been to lobby essentially at the state level. This wanted to include federal legislators, but to go after funding for technology, so cameras, infrastructure, security personnel, staff training and maintenance around school security. Kind of a hard one to turn down. I have a little bit of an issue with some of the security personnel components. Just that, in general, I think that schools, and this, of course, is my personal opinion, schools need to be really careful about putting police officers in schools. That, some child behavior that is, there's behavior in school that could be interpreted as a crime at some point, and, schools handle it one way, like a kid hauls off and hits somebody, that could be an assault charge, or that could be handled within the school confines as a ruling. They're saying to adopt it. I'm a little concerned with the overall kind of swing towards more security personnel and resource officers, as they call them in schools. So I personally have an issue with that particular line of it, the security personnel piece, but as a larger safety component, it's kind of hard to turn away when you do have school shootings and you do have violence and things occurring in schools. You want to protect against those things, but again, my concern is that school incidents that could be processed by the judicial system or by the criminal courts outside of school practices by lobbying essentially for security personnel in schools. So I could go either way on this one, but I personally kind of lean towards a no on this one based on that particular element of it.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
So just correct me if I'm wrong, because the way that I interpreted this was that that this language already exists, and what they're doing is they're talking about prioritizing funding for school districts that are receiving these grants and kind of giving them more guidance on what that funding and grant money could be used for.
Correct.
So I don't personally. This is talking about cameras, technology, infrastructure, security person. I know for the SROs and things like that, I know that people are divided on that, but it was my understanding that this is saying how the money is going to be distributed to priority districts, which are districts that don't have the funding to do so.
Well, that also adds that piece. So that piece I don't have a problem with, the prioritization of funding.
Okay.
I have an issue with the security personnel component. And that being possibly used as facilitating, almost a mandate for SROs in particular schools, or in all schools at some point. So I agree with everything in there except that component.
I see what you're saying.
And you can't vote for it, yes, but, so you have to do yes or no. And I feel like because that's in there.
But I think it's saying it would assist the school district. So doesn't the school district still get to decide whether or not they want to implement an SRO in this example? So you're not being required to, but
it could be part of the
lending to the support if the school district so chooses.
Yes, but you could, with ISB doing lobbying here at the state or federal level, they could build grants that include SROs as part of a package or things like that.
I guess potentially that could be the overall. If that is the case, even though I think 90% of it is good.
That's where I'm at
and
too.
I would support.
But you can't vote for
90%.
90% of it.
Right.
So I support 100 then.
Okay.
Donna?
I support it.
Okay.
Frank?
Yeah, I support
Becky?
I'm with you, Rob. I guess I'll support it, but I see your point that it's like, it's too broad, or it's too unknown, what they could potentially do with the funding.
Okay, but we're in favor of it though?
I don't agree with the recommendation, so that's potentially 3. So then, Louis, you're a deciding vote.
You said 100%.
I agree with the,
Okay, then that's
the
4.
committees.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to agree with their
Yeah.
recommendation.
And then I will vote, you're directing me to vote that way?
Correct.
Okay. All right. The legislative activity involvement with candidates for public office. They're really just striking language, which, was just a single sentence in here. And the sentence in here is that the legislative candidate is relative to public education and to support those candidates who have demonstrated understanding and support for principles. It's kind of redundant and kind of a overly written policy, but the whole idea about it is just maintaining nonpartisanship in public office, which is a difficult topic anyway these days. But they're voting against it, and I could go either way on this one, but it just seems more, again, language. It's not really addressing what they're talking about.
It's kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I agree with the recommendation not to adopt. Does anybody agree, disagree?
I agree not to adopt.
Okay.
Becky, you agree? Frank?
Yep. I agree not to adopt. I agree to recommend do not adopt.
Okay.
All right. All right, I'll set up the question next time a little bit better. All right, so mandates.
Buzzers, that would be great.
So the mandate review committee, so basically what this is doing is taking an existing directive here and just supporting the creation of a committee for mandate review, and then also setting a provision that mandates be subject to sunset provision, which just just requires them to be renewed in a way, or like a renewal cycle, like we do like our policy updates. I had zero issues with this one as well, so I agreed to adopt the recommendations.
I agree.
Everybody agree? All right.
I have a really quick question on this. When they're talking about forming a committee on mandate review, are they saying legislatively or at IASB? This is legislatively, is what they're saying, correct?
Yeah, but it has no bearing on what the House and the state.
Well, so that's my question. Are they trying to lobby for a committee to be formed at the legislative level? Because that would be super duper helpful. But if they're talking at IASB, okay.
I mean,
But you understand what I'm trying to say?
All this stuff is not binding, a lot of it.
No, I know that, but I'm saying, are they talking about within IASB they're forming the committee, or they want it to be formed? They're trying to push for this as legislation to form in the House, in the Illinois House.
Starts with IASB and then it goes to the House.
Yeah, so it's state and national levels.
Yeah.
They're recommending a committee. So that'd be a committee with the Department of Education to have like a mandate review board and a state. But we're just directing them to lobby to have these things potentially put into place.
Okay, I think I'm asking.
So we're not creating a mandate review committee here.
No. I
Okay.
understand that. That's why these are all resolutions that they're trying to lobby for. Right? No. That's not my question. I'm just trying to see, like, if it's to hire more people to do more committee stuff at IASB, I don't necessarily.
I think it says legislation for the creation, so they're gonna support legislation or a law that would be created at the state level in the.
That's what it's saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was having a really hard time where it just says IASB shall support at the state and national level. So they're saying that they're trying to lobby for a group at the legislative level, and IASB will support those individuals, the congressmen, the House members, correct?
Yeah, so they already do.
Perfect.
So for example, there's different organizations right now that address like special needs safety protocols around restraint and timeout,
Right.
RTO. Okay, so, but those are non-binding committees? They don't have any legislative directives that they
Right,
can?
any bearing, they can't just pass a law.
Yeah, right. So
Right.
if you had
Nope.
a mandate review board, you could elevate their voice, if you will, so that they can make more formal recommendations to legislators for changes in mandates and rules. That's just one example.
Perfect. Got it.
Right. Number 8, okay, financial contributions for school board, and I got this my line's a little crossed from the earlier one here. This one is specifically kind of strengthening some language around the nonpartisan nature of school board positions. I think it's a little bit of wishful thinking here in general, but what it does do is again, direct the IASB to lobby to put some restrictions in place for school board candidates that they should not solicit, accept, or receive donation or financial contributions from special interest groups or political action committees or political parties. I don't even know if they put a rule like that in place that it would stand based on based on some rules that have, like what's the big ruling that flooded all the money into politics, right? But whatever. But they're recommending to adopt it. I think it's a fight worth fighting to keep our schools as nonpartisan as possible. They recommend to adopt it. I tend to agree with it, even though it's kind of an uphill push.
I agree with you, Robert.
I would think that it's something that we could write into our code of conduct also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the problem with that is that you might be punishing the people that are currently on the board, because if you are not on the board and running for election to the board, you don't really have to you don't have to follow that code of conduct because you're not appointed.
And it goes back to any rule requires some level of enforcement, and that would require us as a governmental body to, if we had a policy or a rule or something, we'd have to either fight it or there'd be a local.
Yeah. The intent of it is good, but, how is this going to be, I know it's only at the IASB level, but how are you going to control this? Because PACs can throw money at any candidate, and
Well, it's already happening too.
yeah,
I mean,
so, yeah, that's my biggest problem with it, is that you can say this is the way it should operate, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, and then you create a disadvantage for one group opposed to the other. So I still say we adopt it.
everybody
I
agree?
Yep.
Adopt it? Okay. All right, and then the rest of them were just, were resolutions that did not make it past the committee. They, to even for consideration, they have to reach a percentage, basically a supermajority of votes to even be presented to the committee as a whole. So these didn't pass. They're just there for documentation purposes.
Well, and some of these are redundant from the years
From years
past.
past.
Yeah.
So we basically did agree with all the IASB recommendations.
Not just basically, we did.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Good point. Touche. So you've got your marching orders, you're good?
Yes, sir.
Okey doke. Okay, where is it here? Is it, we don't have to, we do have to motion? On behalf of?
We have to
Okay,
direct
so
them to
can I get a
vote on
motion and a
behalf.
second to direct Representative Ronstadt to vote on our behalf at the IASB Delegate Resolution Forum?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Becky Pfisterer,
Second.
second by Friedland.
Yes.
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 Sorry. Pfisterer,
Yes.
Fiorito,
Yes.
Ronstadt,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries.
Okay, Next is the Finance Committee. Mrs. Johnson, you are the chair.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I can't. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Finance Committee met at 6 o'clock this evening before the board meeting here to go over a bunch of things. And the biggest thing was the financial audit, and we have someone here from the audit firm, Joe.
Joe Lycap from Baker
So-
Tilly.
And he will give us a 30,000-foot overview of the audit. What did you do?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. First off, before I get going, as I did in finance, I will do again tonight. I'll do again now. Just to thank Lyndall and the business office for their help during the audit. We asked a lot of questions. We asked for a lot of information, and her and her team were always very prompt and thorough with their answers. So it's much appreciated. I don't say that every time I present an audit, so it's good. It's good to. You should be thankful that that happens here. And I will be going over very high level 2 of the reports, the draft annual comprehensive financial report and the draft audit results letter that you have in your packets. First, I'll be going over the draft annual comprehensive financial report, and associated with that is the annual financial report to ISB, which they assign a profile score based on your financial metrics, and the draft score right now is recognition, and a 3.9 out of 4, which is what the district has received in the past. The only non-4 is percent of long-term debt margin remaining, as the district has a little bit more debt than their metrics would allow, but still 3.9 is a great score. For the audit opinion, we have once again issued a clean or unmodified opinion on the district's financial statements. It's the highest level of assurance you can gain from your outside auditors, and states that the information within is reasonable in all material respects and can be relied upon by an outside user of the financial statements. There were no new accounting policies adopted during the year, so the look of the financial statements is pretty consistent with prior years, with at least the prior year. We did adopt a few auditing standards on our end, which changed the look of the opinion. So if you were to hold the opinion up against last year, it would look different. Mainly puts our opinion, our unmodified opinion, up front in the first couple of paragraphs. Talks a little bit more about auditors' responsibilities as well as management's responsibilities. The main discussion on management's responsibilities is around going concern, is that management is responsible for a testing test that the district will remain in operations in the next year. Not really a big issue for local governments, but this is a auditing standard that goes across the different sectors. I always like to point out page 4, management's discussion and analysis, for you to read through. It tells the district's financial story for the year. It's written by management, and it compares what happened this year to prior year. It's a lot easier to read than the rest of the financial statements, so it's just a really good place to start. And if you needed more information on some of the numbers or some of the reasons or some of the, that's when you go further, you dig further into the report to kind of get your answers there. One of the 2 of the schedules that are really only in this financial statements, you don't get those on any other time during the year, are on page 18 and 19, the statement of net position and the statement of activities. These are full accrual, all funds together in one column financial statements. So you can see all of the total assets of the district's equipment, buildings, land, as well as all your long-term debt. You can kind of see all of those numbers, and they net to net position. And net position was $16.4 million this year, which was about a $4.6 million increase over the prior year. You'd like to see that increasing over time. Year over year, it could go up or down depending on a variety of factors, but it's the upward trend over year is what you want to see. This year, it went up because of the fund operations that we'll talk a little bit about in a second, as well as the decrease in your net pension liabilities and OPEB liabilities. So the future amount you'll have to pay for retirement costs, you have some level of funding at IMRF and TRS, with the improved market as of June 30th, 21 and 12/31/21, the dates that those are valued. The market was good. Your position in those funds was better than normal, so the net liability is down. So it makes your financials look better. You measure it in June 30th this year. It's going to next year it's going to look worse. So as I mentioned, it trends over time that you want to kind of be more in tune with on those on that statement. There is a good kind of connection on pages 22 and 25. So this level of accounting, the net position and the change in net position, you can see what numbers impact that, like what happens when you purchase capital assets or you pay off your long-term debt, how that impacts your net position and change in net position in comparison with your fund balance and your change in fund balance. So fund balance is a more short-term perspective of the district's finances. It has short-term payables and receivables. So it's very much a short-term look at your finances. For the operating funds, which would be the general fund, the operations and maintenance fund, transportation fund, and IMRF, those funds were up about $1.1 million after transfers to capital projects for future projects of about $2 million. So all in all, the funds across the board went up about $3.1 million and have about 12 months in operating reserves. The rest of the financials, there's notes to the financial statements that have good details on the district's accounting policies, how different items in the financial statements went up or down depending on the activity and your debt service schedules, and a lot of good detailed information. And following that is your budgetary schedules. You can see how well you did in relation to the budget that you adopted at the beginning of the year, as well as the trend information. When I talked about at the beginning, looking to see how your net position did over time, well, there's schedules in the back in the statistical section that can show you that very number. I'll take a pause there before I go on to the second report to see if there's any questions on the financial statements for the year.
Any questions? Okay, keep going.
Okay. The other report is the reporting and insights from the 2022 audit. This is the non-financial highlights and really the report that satisfies our auditing standards for communication to those charged with governance. There's a lot of different bullet points in here. My main takeaway is that there's a lot of no's, like a lot of these things didn't happen, which is what you want to see. There were no disagreements with management, there were no difficulties performing the audit, there were no material adjustments to the financial information that was presented to us. So all good things. It's very much a boilerplate letter. So it's easy for us to write, but it's good for you to see. The letter also talks about internal controls. We look at internal controls over the district's significant operating cycles, not to provide an opinion on internal controls, but to plan the nature, timing, and extent of our audit procedures. But if there was something that came to our attention that we felt the board should know about, or that we felt could potentially cause the financial statements to be materially misstated, we would present that in the letter. As I mentioned, this was boilerplate, so there are no issues to report there. So again, a good thing to see, and again, doesn't happen in a lot of the presentations I provide. The final thing to point out is the last 3 pages talk about two-way communications for the audit. We work with Lyndall and her team to perform the audit, but we ultimately work for the board. Should you have any questions, comments, concerns throughout the year, or anything related to that letter about our audit plan, we encourage you to reach out to us. My contact information is on the second page of the report, my email and phone number, whatever you should need if you have a question. With that, I'll open it up for that letter.
No, great job. And thank you, Lyndall, you and your team.
I just want to say that the committee thanked Dr. Schuster and her team for a job well done, and we also thanked Baker Tilly for a job well done. And we asked both of them to convey our congratulations and thanks to both of their teams.
Well said. Any comments or questions? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion in a second to accept the fiscal year 2022 comprehensive annual financial report. I am proud to motion for that.
Second.
Second by
Who made the
Friedland.
motion?
Bill.
Okay. Grimpy,
Yes.
Ronstadt,
Yes.
Friedland,
All our power went out. Yes.
Johnson, yes. Pfisterer,
Yes.
Camardo,
Yes.
and Fiorito.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you and have a good night.
We're losing power to the microphones.
Oh, now it's working.
It's okay.
I was going to say,
it works.
I have power. The next item.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item that was on the Finance Committee's agenda was the tentative levy, and Dr. Schuster is the guru on that.
Okay, so at this point in time, we have to put together a tentative levy, what we think we might get from our tax extensions. So there are laws about it. It is limited to the CPI from December 2020 to December 2021, or 5%, whichever is less. The CPI was actually 7%, so we're limited to the 5%. And so we can tax existing taxpayers that 5%. In addition, we're also allowed to increase the levy enough that we could capture taxes from any new property that might come our way. So the Finance Committee is recommending that we actually levy a 7.2% increase over the 2021, which would allow us to capture up to $12 million of taxes on new property. It's typically been, like the last couple years, it was less than $1 million. It's typically been around $2 million. We only actually get the taxes on whatever new property gets assessed, but we really don't know what that will be. It's kind of a crystal ball, so we over levy just to make sure that we capture all of that new property. So that's the recommendation for the actual levy that goes to the Cook County Treasurer's Office. I have also done a guesstimate that it'll probably, the actual increase will probably be 5% for existing taxpayers, with an additional 0.4 that will actually happen with the new property. But we're recommending, because we don't have that crystal, because I can't read crystal balls, we're recommending doing more than that. So the recommendation is $25,267,373, exclusive of the debt service, which is a 7.2% increase over the 2021 tax levy. That it's because it's over 5%, we do have to have a hearing, but we've always had a hearing. So that extra 2.2% captures any new property. There is also new legislation that we are required to report cash reserves. At the hearing, our cash reserves, according to our June 30th, 2022 AFR, were for operating funds, $27,302,084, and for debt service, $858,226, and capital projects, where we're saving some money. And we actually are planning on transferring operating fund balances into capital projects to pay for our capital projects fund, but right now the cash reserve is $3,652,879. So the process is that the board certifies the tentative levy. We have to publish it in a local newspaper 7 to 14 days prior to the hearing. So we'd publish it probably about December 2nd. We would have the public hearing on the 13th, and then the board would adopt the levy, and then I have to file it by the fourth Tuesday of December, which is December 27th. And in the Finance Committee packet, there's a lot of information about taxes, if you have any questions on those. And taxes are very late this year. I think I've talked about that before. We actually got the 2021. We received how much it will be on November 4th. The tax bills have not gone out yet. We're hoping that we'll get them before December 31st, or that they will be due before December 31st. So you should, are they? You should see them soon.
Any questions?
Not a question, but I was reading the packet on page 7, and I just wanted to put it on public record that the Comcast property is on here as a future development. The Village of Mount Prospect did give them a 6B approval, so that affects our taxes.
Yes, that is correct.
Any other comments? Okay, can I get a motion and a second to approve the tentative 2022 tax levy and the following schedule? November 15th, the board certifies the tentative 22 levy. December 2nd, 2022, we will send legal notice to publish in a local newspaper. December 13th, 2022, the board and will hold a public hearing, and we will adopt the levy. And then on December 27th, 2022, is the last day to file the levy with the Cook County Clerk with the tentative 2022 tax levy as outlined.
So moved.
Moved by Camardo.
Second.
Second by Ronstadt.
Okay, hang on one second here. You did say December 13th and December 27th, right?
I did.
Okay, hang on.
See what it is? The motion's got it the 15th and the 29th. Do I need to change the motion? Okay.
She's doing it right now.
Okay.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, thanks for your patience. Grimpy?
Yes.
Johnson votes yes. 3. Ronstadt?
Yes.
Friedland?
Yes.
Fisterer?
Yes.
Fiorito?
Yes.
And Camardo?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up is the resolution authorizing a supplemental tax levy to pay debt service on outstanding limited bonds.
Okay, so we have 2 bonds that are paid out of the debt service account. When we issue those bonds, the payments plan is scheduled, and that stays the same. But we estimate what we'll be levying, and based on what we think the CPI might be. So I think when we did this, it was 1.5%. But we can increase the levy up to whatever the CPI is. So this should be 5%. So this supplemental levy just allows us to do that increase to the taxes that we're allowed to do. And so we can make our bond payments up. We can only levy up to the amount of the actual bond payments, but this takes it up to that amount. And we've done this last few years.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second to approve the resolution authorizing the supplemental tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on the district's outstanding limited bonds?
So moved.
Moved by Camardo,
Second.
second by Friedland. Any comments or questions? Okay, Donna, you can take roll, please.
Okay, Grimpy?
Yes.
Camardo?
Yes.
Fiorito?
Yes.
Fisterer?
Yes.
Friedland?
Yes.
Ronstadt?
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion carries.
Next up is a post-issuance tax compliance report. This is just an informative section.
Yes, this is just that tells the board that I'm making sure we're following all the IRS rules for our bonds and any kind of reporting, and we're not, because they're tax exempt bonds.
Thank you.
Next up is student fees for 2023-2024.
Okay, so the Finance Committee discussed the fees, and they have a recommendation of what they would like to charge for next year. I'll start with transportation. The recommendation, I believe this was not unanimous, was to increase the fee by $5 from $155 to $160 for a single rider, $105 to $110 for a second rider, but set a maximum of $300 per family. So if they have a third kid, they would only be paying $30. And if they have a fourth kid, it would be free. That's transportation. Technology and student material fees, to raise those by $20, so from $195 to $215. Technology and student material fees, K-5 grade, $195 to $215. 6th to 8th grade, $225 to $245. Okay, leave the Chromebook insurance as it is. The preschool fees, increase those from $25.75 to $2,700. And the rationale for this is they usually follow what the CPI is every year. So this year's CPI we're anticipating to be around 7% again. The preschool snack fee doesn't currently cover the cost of the food, so increasing that from $50 to $75. That's an annual fee. And then for food service, increasing the elementary student lunch from $3.15 to $3.30. The middle school lunch from $3.75 to $3.95. Breakfast from $1.90 to $2, and leaving milk at 55 cents. And then we would also continue to have early discount for fees paid by May 1st, $25 for material fees and $50 for transportation fees. And that $25 discount is included in what I just told you, the fees I gave you. Because most people do pay by May 1st.
Just for my own sanity, could you repeat the bus
Yes.
fees, please?
Yes. The bus fee, it's a little bit of a different structure. So a single rider would be $160. A second rider would be $110. There would be a maximum of $300 per family. So the third rider would be $30, and all additional riders would be free.
Okay. Do we just do the motion and then discuss it, or do you want to discuss it?
I don't know who all wants to discuss it. So you guess you do the motion and then ask for discussion on it.
So let me get a motion and a second to approve the student fees as follows. Materials and technology would increase to $215 for K through 5. For 6th through 8th grade, it would increase to $245. Chromebook fees would stay the same at $25. Busing would increase to $160 for the first rider, $110 for the second rider, with a maximum fee of $300 total per family. Preschool tuition would be at increase to $2,700. Snack stayed the same, or no, increased to 75. Sorry, increased to 75. Meals, breakfast increased to $2. Elementary school lunch increased to $3.30. And finally, middle school lunch increased to $3.95 with milk at 55 cents.
So moved.
Moved by Fiorito.
Second.
Second by Ronstadt. And comments and questions?
What was the logic behind the transportation? I'm
So this was between Louis and I, basically just having some kind of incremental increase. We did have an 18% increase from our transportation company last year. We certainly want to encourage ridership, but a small move, less than or 5% or less in both categories, just sets a precedence of it kind of keeping up with inflation and costs. And then we did talk with Lyndall about where the stressors are and Jody, for certain families. There are certain families that just can't afford the bus fees at all. There's other families that, have larger families, so there's some considerations there. We don't have exact numbers, but, there's a handful of families out there with more than 3 kids, and that could, it could be expensive. I mean, an extra $500 hit, so cushioning it a little bit for them. We also talked to, both Jody and Lyndall about, trying to better identify kids that are having, or families that are having trouble with those transportation fees. Maybe even putting something on there where certain families could opt to donate some fees to help certain families that can't afford the bus fees. But it was really just to move just to move it a little bit, not a lot, a little bit. Keep encouraging them, but the snacks are a good case of we left it alone for all these years, and then you got to make a big percentage increase. Whereas if you just keep moving it a little bit, the one big jump that might occur at some point will be smaller, and that was the philosophy. We definitely have concern about the kids that aren't affording or can't afford it. I don't think $5 is going to make a difference for the ones that can afford it. The ones that can't, we got to continue to seek them out to make sure that they're handled from a transportation standpoint.
And I have a question. Maybe there's a reason for it, but it seems like there's a big gap. Like, we have rules in place for people who can't afford the student fees, who can't afford the technology fee. There's a policy and it's clear, and asking for help, they don't have to, as long as they're on the reduced lunch fee, they get the student fees waived. I don't know why that doesn't apply to the bus, or why there can't be something. I mean, we identify them and we help them, but seems to me it should just be automatic.
That is why I will tell you that we put more of a percentage increase on the technology side, because there is that process in place, but that's a good point.
We are not required to provide transportation,
Mhm.
and that's why there's a difference there. We do have payment plans for families. They pay $50 a month, and we work with them too.
Yeah, I know.
And we've kept the bus at a
Yeah.
very low cost.
Okay.
So for a family of 3 children, from the current rates to next year, it's a net savings of $65 a year for them. And then even more if you have 4.
It's still a lot of money, especially, even on the payment plan, that's a lot of money for some families per month.
It's not per month.
Isn't it $50? No, but the payment plan is payment for.
It's 50. The payment plan is $50
I
a
think
month.
there's an easier solution, so we're not finding our staff in the middle of the year wondering why kids can't get to school, and it's that they couldn't afford the bus. Like, we should just be proactive with it and identify them earlier and have a path for them to apply for help with the bus. That's my opinion on the bus fee. I understand that we're now giving some families a discount, which is great, but I don't think it addresses the issue with people that really need the money, or having a hard time making the current payment as it is for one kid. I did have a question about the student lunch too. It looked like the number of lunches have gone down when compared to 2019-2020 school year. Is that just is it because of cost, or is it just a change in?
Lunch was free for all, starting in March 2020.
Yeah.
All the way through last year.
This is 2019 on page 7. It looks like elementary school in 2019-2020 was $858, and 2022-2023 there's been $600.
It's year to date.
Year to date, is that $858 year
No,
to date, or for the school year?
that's an average. That's an average. Our enrollment is down a little bit.
Okay.
everyone was getting it for free for 2 years, so not everybody's coming back to it now that they have to pay for it. There's also, I think some of our free and reduced numbers are down a little bit too. I'm not quite sure, but having it being free for 2 years, I think there's a little bit of work to do to get it back up again.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just want to say that I do not support any of the fees that the Finance Committee is recommending, other than the $2 student breakfast to accommodate the federal guidelines, and I would be agreeable to a $300 cap on transportation, but everything else, I think the fees should just stay the way they are. So I'll be voting no.
Could we add a directive to Becky's point to come up with a process for students applying for some relief on the transportation funds? Because we all have the same goal here. You know, get as many people riding the bus as we can, but you know, I principally believe that, you know, some people can help pay for it, or some people can pay for it and contribute to transportation. As Dr. Schuster said, it's not a requirement that we fund that.
Yes, we can work on that.
But that doesn't change the motion.
Nope.
Any other comments? Okay.
Sorry, I have one more question. So the student material fee, it's just to keep up with inflation? It's not more materials? Is it more like they need more materials, or it's just to keep up with inflation? Like, do they need more materials for different
Are
curriculum?
they getting more for that money, or is it just keeping up with rising costs? Right?
My perspective on this was everything we pay for is going up in price, and not going to match it. Some of these things, like transportation, 18% increase, but we incurred as a district, which seemed ridiculous, so we went with a 4% increase and a cap. So to keep transportation, which is a requirement for kids to even attend school, keep that low. And there is no ability currently in place to offer free or reduced transportation, but there is something in place for a reduced fee and waivers, or not waivers, just 100% off on the material and handling fees section. So since that exists there for those that are more economically stressed, that's kind of make up some ground here. So we got a little 2%, some 4%, some 10%, some 7%. At the end of the day, operating costs to the district are going up far more than that. So just to kind of slow the gap between them is to try and find some sort of balance there, as opposed to year after year staying status quo and then just allowing the cost to keep increasing. We're just going to keep ballooning it. So that was my take on suggesting these various levels.
And the fee, and the percentage for the student material fee was just, what was the thinking behind that amount to increase it?
So if we're not going to increase transportation or food by a significant dollar amount, this is an area that you can and already has a built-in reduced fee structure to it, so it is less impactful to the economically stressed families.
Was it? But it was a thinking like 10% this year, 10%. What was the
math? We do 1 year at a time.
What was the math behind getting to that number versus a different number?
Which number?
For increasing the student material fee.
Like Louis said, inflation's roughly 7%. Our fee structure is not hitting inflation numbers in total. Okay, so there's a waiver process in place for technology. So if you disproportionately increase that, because there's a waiver process in there, the families that have a difficult time affording that can apply and get that waived. But we can make up some ground by keeping some fees lower, like transportation, like keeping milk prices at the same amount. We're kind of subsidizing it with that a little bit.
Okay. So the material fee, what percentage is that going up? I think I missed it. 10%.
10%. But again, there's already a process in place for kids that, or for families that have a hard time with that, where they can get it waived or reduced pretty drastically. So it basically just puts a relatively modest, beneath inflation increase to families that can't afford it, or I should say, aren't qualifying for assistance.
Are we good?
And they're not getting anything more necessarily for their money. We're just maintaining services and covering added expenses.
Any other questions?
I thought you guys did a good job.
And nobody likes fees, but you know, you look at that amount, $382,000 that we collect from that. That's a couple teachers.
Okay, Mrs. Johnson, could you call roll, please?
Sure. Pfisterer,
Yes.
Friedland,
No.
Grimpy,
Yes.
Johnson, no. Fiorito,
Yes.
Camardo,
Yes.
and Ronstadt.
Yes.
And I apologize, I forgot that I should give an explanation when I vote no, but if we're going to be basing this off of CPI and everything, or not CPI, sorry, of inflation rates and everything else like that, if we're looking at this and saying that we're going to take a 10% increase when inflation hasn't been at 10% and families are already hurting from the after effects of that hitting families that are kind of on the verge of being able to afford these things and not being able to afford these things, I don't agree with hitting people now with those additional costs versus possibly doing a 5% increase this year, a 5% increase next year. So that is my explanation for why I voted no.
But you're only talking about one component of this.
I
right?
am, but it's a big component because every single person pays
The vote's
that.
already in the
And-
books, guys.
Okay.
Service contracts timeline. This is informative.
Yes, this was information and all the different service contracts with some, when we are expecting to evaluate them and come back with some proposals. So we are currently looking at copiers. You will see that possibly December, maybe January. The other one we want to look at is legal this year. And possibly our work order system. So any questions?
No, I just want to publicly thank you for putting this together. Thank you.
Second that. Thanks, Lyndall.
Good job.
You're welcome.
Okay. NSSEO update. Mr. Ronstadt, you are our representative.
The superintendent search continues. There's a survey that is going about. We hired an agency to help direct that process, and we're working on it. We should have some candidates, I think, probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and hopefully make a decision in the first part of next year. That's probably the biggest thing going on. Outside of that, again, continue to report good staffing levels over there, which is really absolutely just critical to serving the needs of the population over there. And had the Fall Fest as well out at Sunrise, and continue to remind the administration and teachers, parents, anybody that is accessible to all of our families and the districts and in the member districts, and put together field trips or things like that. It's really a really cool place and neat experience for kids of all ages.
Prairie Trails just had their first field trip on Monday at Sunrise, and they got 2 more scheduled.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
Awesome.
Yep.
I would also like to say 214 has been using the heck out of that, so go for it. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, and I guess I got a little history behind that, that land was donated many years ago for like $1. So we've been building it just slowly every year. There's been little additions and stuff to it, and they've got a great set of people out there that are running some really good programs. So just year-round too, just because it's snowing.
Awesome. Okay, President's Report, that's me. Upcoming events this weekend, we've already talked about. We got the Triple I Conference. On the 19th, ILMEA, the Junior Music Festival, is going on. The 21st, we have parent-teacher conferences in the evening. On the 22nd, we have all-day parent-teacher conferences. There's no student attendance. The 23rd and the 25th, all schools and offices are closed for Thanksgiving break. December 4th, Hershey Holiday Band Concert. The December 7th, God, it's December already. District Orchestra Concert is going to be here at RTMS. December 8th, the Euclid 4th, 5th grade winter concert. On December 12th, RTMS 6th and 8th grade concert, and the December 13th RTMS jazz performance before the board meeting, so come at 6:30. That's always a good time. Dr. Megley, you're up with the superintendent report.
Okay, we have survived a third of the school year, so the buildings are gearing up to welcome families in, as you said, for conferences next week. Excited for that. I have been beginning to cycle out the inclement weather information. We did not have any snow days or cold days last year, so just reminding families of those guidelines and that we do have an approved e-learning plan. So part of that communication will be it's an e-learning day, or maybe it's a traditional snow day, cold weather day. So, just starting to cycle out that communication. Hopefully, we don't have to worry about that this winter, but the weather people, I think, are saying otherwise. On a different note, we talked about the soccer pitch at the last board meeting. If you remember, they were supposed to go to the village on November 1st. That got bumped to the village meeting tonight. So just in preparation for the next steps, we will find out what happened at the village meeting, most likely tomorrow. But I do have some questions from the last meeting, primarily from Donna, just what happens, just kind of logistics in terms of how to handle that. Is that going to be a donation? How are we going to handle it if we want to dismantle it at any time? Is there paperwork that outlines kind of the do's and don'ts of this project? So just wanted to make sure that I have everyone's questions or any other questions before we move on to next steps after the village meeting tonight.
My biggest concern is, I really appreciate the young man who came and spoke before the board, but what's going to happen when he becomes an adult and moves away and has his own family and doesn't live in Mount Prospect anymore? So that soccer pitch will still be there. So who's responsible for it?
So similar question in terms of
Well,
is
yeah.
it being donated to us?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
And maybe paperwork outlining that. Is it a gift, a donation,
Sure.
what have you? Okay.
Well, and even on the flip side as well, are we donating the land for this? Who's donating what to
We are
who?
not donating the land. They're just putting it on, but I think some kind of an agreement would be appropriate before they actually put it together. So we'll look at doing that.
Anybody else?
Can I back up and ask a question about snow days?
Yes.
How do you determine whether it's a remote learning day or just a deferred, regular, old-fashioned snow day?
Yes,
As a parent
great
that wants
question.
his kids out of the
Great question
house.
for somebody who's never called a snow day before.
I have not. I have
no,
not.
I mean, I think our preference, our primary preference is to use the e-learning plan that we have in place so that we aren't tacking on extra days at the end of the school year. However, if it's a cold, tundra week where we have 5 days in a row, we will talk about whether or not it's practical to have 2 or 3 e-learning days in a row. So we do realize that sometimes attention online is not, can, after a few days, might, exhaust kids. So that will be part of the discussion. But our primary preference is to use our e-learning plan. So I know that doesn't answer your question, but
It does.
that'll be
It's
our
not-
go-to.
It's not the answer I wanted, but I guess from my seat, I
Yes.
certainly would like them to just be made-up days.
Okay, point noted.
Is that it? Okay. Future topics. I actually have one. I talked to Dr. Megley about this briefly. And there's a lot of what ifs in this future topic, but I just kind of want to get the ball rolling. So there's a bill that's stalled in the House to eliminate or keep, I guess it's elimination of standard time, and we would keep daylight savings time. So if it passes, when we spring forward in March, we would no longer fall back. So what that means is according to Tom Skilling, in late December, all of January and early February, we would not have sunrise before 8 a.m. So I just kind of want to know is this an opportunity? Should we look at our start times? Are families uncomfortable sending their kids walking to school? I know it's winter, maybe they're not walking to school in darkness. How does it affect the first period of gym here? I mean, again, it's winter, so I don't know that they're doing anything outside. But there's just some concerns that I have, and again, we may look into this and it may still stay stalled in the House and not have any action on it, so it may be a moot point. But I just kind of wanted to talk about it and get the board's input if anybody's in agreement or not. And if you're not, I'm going to sleep okay, but just kind of want to get the discussion going. And I appreciate your input.
I always like the discussion of school start times. Whenever you want to talk about it, let's talk. Daylight savings or not, but I was a proponent of flipping them around because it just seems like it makes more sense to have the kids that wake up naturally at 5 a.m. start earlier, but
Yeah.
I guess there's reasons
I
not
mean,
to.
I think the same point, like you talked about flipping them, people are worried about kids getting on the bus in the dark. So now I picked up clubs after school. It was real dark in the parking lot.
Sure.
So you're going to have the same.
Now, mind you, I'm not saying it's just because she's here, but we have a representative from RTA. Obviously, we do have a contract in place. That may eliminate the conversation altogether, but we do have a great relationship with them. So if this were something that we might want to address, obviously I would seek their input as well. But again, just throwing it out
I think
there.
it's good to look at the potential impact. It's hard to think on the schedules, but it is an opportunity to look.
If it does pass, and I don't know
It's
if
in
it
two
will or won't.
places, right? It's like in the federal government, the Senate passed it. In the Illinois House, the House passed
Correct.
it, but the Senate, so it's state, it could be state or federally
Correct.
done within the next
You're right.
year.
But it would affect our next school year.
Yeah.
I agree with you that we should address the start times if there is a change. But until there is a change, it's a moot point.
Well, it is, but I don't, if it passes, in March, we have to.
Then that should trigger the conversation.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Anybody else?
I have another topic question. Maybe it's just for the policy committee.
Well, let's stay on this one.
Oh, I thought you said anybody else,
I'm
as
sorry, I
in like
meant,
other
do we-
future topics.
So for a future topic, you have to
Sorry.
get at least 4 board members to agree to make it something that the Jody's team would look into. If I don't have 3 other people, then I'll listen to your future topic.
How long does the school need to give parents notice that the schedule in August would change?
Oh, you got a lot more things to worry about.
Well, no, I'm just saying if they move it, and Rob's like, we talk about it in March.
We don't move it without the teachers,
Right.
and you got a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
was
other
going to say, my
things.
first reaction, without putting too much thought, is there'd be no way I could flip it for August
Yeah.
from a March
Okay. Well, then-
change. But that's
No,
with this much thought put behind it, because there are a lot of things that are already set by March, April. that would be really
Oh,
hard.
sports schedules are already in place?
Yep.
No, it's,
You got to push all the sports.
It's going to be a dark December then.
Yep.
okay. And I'm, again, fine with that. I just wanted to bring up the conversation and see where it went. That's it.
Good convo.
You've
Go
got
ahead,
two
Louis.
down here.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Robert, where maybe we discuss it when we get to that, because I feel like this has been happening for the last decade, where we're definitely getting rid of it, and then we definitely don't.
I know, sure.
So,
It's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But it is an interesting topic.
And I just want to say, we'll talk about it when it comes up, but we also have to take into account the bus schedule. If
Right.
other school districts that Grand Prairie services don't have there's other ramifications than just the kids being out at the bus stops when it's dark or walking
No
to
doubt.
school.
No doubt.
So,
But I guess my point is just that's to bring up all those different ramifications. And what are they and how do they get addressed? Do they get addressed? So, okay. Louis, what do you got for us?
I think I realize it's not a future topic, and I just need to talk to the policy committee leader. Who's that? Janine? Just on what Bill said about during the visitors' comments. Maybe I misheard, but I think you said you should speak for a minimum of 20 minutes on a topic?
A 5-minute time limit per speaker with a 20-minute maximum length on one topic.
Okay.
So each person
I thought I
gets-
heard you say minimum. I was
each
like, that
person
sounds
gets
like
5
totally
minutes.
backwards. Done. Because I was like, that sounds crazy.
Bill, I have one more question, because I keep thinking about it. So I don't know if this would be an appropriate topic for future topics, or if this is better for like community engagement meetings, or just a heads up on training, or how we run our meetings. I would love to put a presentation together on how we actually run our meetings, because now I've heard a few individuals say that we vote on things in closed session, and these are just our general public, like these are individuals that live within our community, which we don't, because that's illegal. But like, and I've heard that like people don't know how we came to the decision for some of our policies, because they don't know that we have a policy committee that also meets, that is also an open meeting, that doesn't typically vote. We vote to recommend things to the entire board. So things like that, where there are just a lot of individuals that don't understand how these meetings run. And I didn't either, when I first started coming. And if I were an infrequent visitor, I wouldn't know what was going on. So, and I'm still learning. So I don't know if that's a community engagement topic that could at some point be presented, or if that is, I don't know what
I
that
could
is.
see it as a community engagement topic, make it like a board meeting 101.
Like, does any,
I don't know if anybody would attend.
I mean, even if just the information was out there, it is a little bit disheartening to hear that people think that we're doing things that we wouldn't do, or that are inappropriate, or that we know that we, don't agree with the Open Meetings Act and things like that. So I just want to make sure that people have trust in us. And so I feel like if they understood the meeting better, maybe they would understand. No? Am I just...
Oh, you're right. I get the same thing, like how do I talk? A lot of people don't even know how they would make a public comment, or or if they can make a public comment if there's kids not in school, or I've gotten
Yeah.
questions like that.
That
I don't
too.
know the venue, if it's like a town hall type of thing, and at the beginning, we kind of talk about, well, our normal meeting looks like this, and if you had issue that you wanted to bring to the board or to the superintendent, who they would contact.
I mean, it's kind of a policy committee. I mean, there's
Yeah.
what we've, whether I was president or Frank was president or Donna before him, there's been many conversations as to when visitors comment, when's the ideal time for visitors comments, and there isn't an ideal time. Now that I've meeting with a lot of board presidents in the area, they are amazed that we have two. But yet, by having one later, it allows people to hear the presentations, and a lot of their questions could get answered. So it's nice to have the second one, and yet but yet, there's also things that are voted on. So then, do they want to comment after it's already written in the books? So it's a balancing act, and again, between Donna, Frank, myself, that's just the last three presidents. There have not been, the number one answer for it.
Is there anything informational we could put under the Board of Education section on the website? Like, to your point, making a presentation about FAQs, like how things are done?
I need a TikTok video. And know your audience. Well, no, seriously, like this sounds like a social studies assignment. Like,
Well, and I mean, until you need to reach out to your local government, a lot of times you don't know what to do.
So this is better for community engagement. This is not a future topic.
Correct.
I was going to say, I can brainstorm some ideas with the team and come up with something.
I will just throw one
TikTok.
idea out there real quick. Someone could do a videotape. You could videotape someone explaining it and then posting it on the website under the board. I mean, I see people do that in companies all the time, hi, we do this, blah, 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 and it's on their website, so.
Get makeup and like those big jump out.
And, well, I would just say to Janine's point, if she's heard it multiple times, then there's probably more than that thinking that haven't said it, Like if you get customer complaints, if it's like 2 or 3, it's probably a lot more that haven't told you.
Oh, I don't disagree. No, I don't disagree at all. But it's just a matter of, to Robert's point and Janine's point and even Donna's, if let's say we did it tonight, how do you got to get an audience, or literally falls on deaf ears. So. Okay. Anybody else? That brings us to visitors' comments. Again, there's a 5-minute time limit per speaker with a 20-minute minimum length on one topic, and overall 30-minute minimum for visitor comments on one topic. Correct. Hearing none. Can I get a motion and a second to go into closed session for the matters of personnel and sale of property at 9:20?
So moved.
There will be no action taken upon the exit of closed session. Sorry. That was Friedland and Pfisterer.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pfisterer? Yes or no
Say
to
yes.
go into closed session?
Yes, please.
Okay. Friedland?
Yes.
Grimpy?
Yes.
Johnson votes yes. Fiorito? Yes. Camardo?
Yes.
And Ronstadt?
yes.
Okay.
We just take like 2 minutes to clear the room and
What,
9:20. Okay. So can I get a motion and a second to resume open session at 9:35? Moved by
Second.
Fiorito and second by Camardo. And it's 9:35 was the time.
Okey doke. Okay, Camardo,
Yes.
Ronstadt,
Yes.
Fisterer,
Yes.
Fiorito. Yes. Grimpy,
Yes.
Johnson, yes. Friedland,
Yes.
and we are out.
Jody didn't think we'd get this done in time.
Nice job, everyone.
We can
In
hunker
time
down.
for what?
I'm impressed. I was just impressed by the time.
Thought we'd go till midnight.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, a good meeting. I thought we had some great presentations from the schools. I thought it was great to have the room packed. You know, obviously it would have been nice if somebody would have stayed, but I get it. You know, and just so you know, the lady who spoke about the warehouse, she kind of cornered me on the side, and Lewis was my muscle, so I felt safe. But basically, I just told her it's not really a school board responsibility. It's not our land. It's not our, you know, I said from a school board side, there's really not much we could do. I said personally, I have signed the petition. If there was anything she wanted to do to reach out to me outside of my school board responsibilities, I would be willing to offer any assistance I may be able to help with, but that was really kind of where it died.
Because I wrote to the village too, but it's a good format for her to talk and hopefully get somebody to see. So I get it too.
I missed, sorry.
But what we could do as a board is put together a resolution that says, whereas this and whereas Comcast is doing this and whereas this company's coming in, the River Trails Board of Education does not support this, or they support there'll be some type of resolution. It's just a resolution. It's not anything that
No, I
is
agree. And-
binding, but it lets them know that there are constituents. That
Right.
lets
Well,
them
absolutely.
know that we do care, we did think about it, and yes, I agree. I mean, I went to the meeting, I went to 2 meetings, not knowing that these people were going to be there. And and I spoke as a resident because it's in my backyard, and I'm upset about it. But the village board thought I was there for the school board. Afterwards, they thought, and I said, oh, no, I am not here for the school board. I'm here for myself.
I mean, personally, I don't know that I'm against it. I don't know enough about it.
Oh, you should have been to the meetings.
No, I mean, I've read about it. I've looked into it. You know, I've worked with many companies that use warehouses, and trucks don't come flying in and out like people are saying. They all have to have an appointment.
Well,
So-
okay, I'm not going to get in.
So it's not like, and you know, if once those docks are filled, then they don't offer any more appointments. So there's a lot more to it than what people think.